Maya Chen sat in the back corner of her advanced physics class, absently twirling a pencil between her fingers, while Professor Williams droned on about theoretical warp mechanics. Around her, 23 other senior students scribbled notes furiously, hanging on every word about humanity's latest breakthrough in faster-than-light travel. Now, as we all know, Professor Williams continued, adjusting his glasses, the Chen-Martinez drive was first successfully tested just 2 years ago, revolutionizing space travel forever. The mathematics behind it are still being studied by our brightest minds. Maya's pencil snapped in half. She stared at the broken pieces in her palm, then quietly reached into her bag for another one. The girl sitting next to her, Jessica, gave her an odd look. "You okay?" Jessica whispered. Maya nodded without making eye contact. She had been getting those looks a lot lately. Ever since she had transferred to Lincoln High 3 months ago, her classmates seemed to think she was different. Not in a bad way exactly, but different enough that they whispered about her when they thought she couldn't hear. It wasn't hard to understand why. While other students stressed about college applications and prom themes, Maya often stared out the window with a distant expression, as if she was seeing something far beyond the school parking lot. During lunch, instead of gossiping about weekend plans, she would pull out books on quantum mechanics or xenobiology, books that were supposed to be university level, not high school reading. "Maya," Professor Williams called suddenly, making her look up. "Since you seem so interested in your pencil collection, perhaps you'd like to explain how the Chen-Martinez drive manages to fold space-time without creating a gravitational singularity?" The entire class turned to stare at her. Maya felt her cheeks warm slightly. This was exactly the kind of attention she had been trying to avoid. "Well," she began slowly, "the drive doesn't actually fold space-time in the traditional sense. It creates a bubble of altered space-time around the ship, where the laws of physics are temporarily adjusted. The ship itself never exceeds light speed relative to the space inside the bubble." Professor Williams raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Maya hesitated. She was already saying too much. "The key is the exotic matter matrix. It has to be precisely calibrated to maintain the bubble's integrity while preventing cascade failures that would collapse it into a black hole." "Impressive," the professor said, though he looked puzzled. "Most graduate students struggle with that concept. Where did you learn about exotic matter matrices? That information isn't in your textbook." "I read a lot," Maya said weakly. Behind her, she heard someone whisper, "Weird." Someone else added, "How does she even know that stuff exists?" The bell rang, saving her from further questioning. As students filed out of the classroom, Maya packed her books slowly, hoping to avoid the usual awkward conversations in the hallway. "Maya, wait up!" She turned to see Alex Rodriguez jogging toward her. Alex was one of the few students who had tried to be friendly since her arrival, though Maya suspected it was more out of curiosity than genuine friendship. "That was amazing in there," Alex said, falling into step beside her. "You totally schooled Professor Williams. I didn't even know what exotic matter was until today." "It's just physics," Maya replied, keeping her voice neutral. "Just physics?" Alex laughed. "Maya, you're talking about stuff that NASA scientists probably don't fully understand yet. Where did you go to school before this? MIT Prep Academy?" Maya's step faltered slightly. "Something like that." They walked in silence for a moment before Alex tried again. "You know, there's a group of us going to see the new Star Trek movie this weekend. Want to come? It's supposed to have some really cool space battle scenes." "Thanks, but I'm busy," Maya said automatically. Alex's face fell a little. "You're always busy. What do you do in your free time? I mean, besides reading doctorate-level physics books." Maya stopped walking and turned to face him. For a moment, Alex saw something in her dark eyes that made him step back involuntarily. There was a depth there, a weight that seemed impossible for someone their age to carry. "Alex," she said quietly, "you wouldn't believe me if I told you." Before he could respond, she was walking away, leaving him standing confused in the middle of the hallway. That evening, Maya sat on the roof of her family's small house, staring up at the stars. It had become her nightly ritual since returning to Earth. Her parents thought she was just going through a phase, teenage rebellion expressed through amateur astronomy instead of purple hair and punk music. If only they knew. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mom. "Dinner's ready, sweetheart. Come down before it gets cold." Maya smiled slightly. Normal family dinner, normal teenage concerns, normal life. Except nothing about her life had been normal for the past 3 years. She pulled out a small device that looked like a smartphone, but definitely wasn't manufactured by any Earth company. The screen displayed a star map, but not of the constellations visible from Earth. This map showed the Kepler 442 system over 1,200 light-years away. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Text scrolled across the screen in symbols that would have looked like random scratches to most humans, but Maya read them as easily as English. "Status report required. Council grows impatient. When will you return?" Maya stared at the message for a long moment before typing back. "Still integrating. Need more time. Time is a luxury we may not have. The hegemony advances. Your presence is requested at the next gathering. I gave them my answer. I'm retired." Legends do not retire, Void Walker. They only rest between battles. Maya's jaw tightened. She had asked them not to use that name. Here on Earth, she was just Maya Chen, weird transfer student who knew too much about physics. Not the Void Walker, not the human who had somehow done the impossible and united 7 alien species against a common threat. "My service is complete," she typed. "Find another legend." The response came immediately. "There is no other. There is only you." Maya powered off the device and shoved it back into her pocket. Tomorrow would bring another day of pretending to be a normal teenager, another day of dumbing down her answers in class, of deflecting questions about her past, of acting like the most dangerous thing she had ever faced was a pop quiz in calculus. She looked up at the stars one more time before climbing back through her bedroom window. Somewhere out there, on worlds whose names most humans couldn't pronounce, entire civilizations knew her as their savior. Songs were sung about her deeds. Children were taught stories about the small human female who had walked through the void between stars and returned with the power to unite worlds. But here in Lincoln, Nebraska, she was just the strange girl who sat alone at lunch and knew too much about space travel. Maya changed into her pajamas and crawled into bed, setting her alarm for another day of high school. As she drifted off to sleep, she tried not to think about the device hidden in her desk drawer, the one that could transport her instantly to any point in the known galaxy, the one she had promised herself she would never use again. She had chosen this life, a normal life, a human life, even if it meant living as a stranger among her own kind. The next morning brought gray clouds and the promise of rain. Maya walked to school with her hood up, books clutched against her chest, trying to blend into the stream of teenagers making their way to first period. She had almost made it to her locker when she noticed the commotion. A crowd of students had gathered near the main entrance, all craning their necks to see something outside. Maya caught fragments of excited conversations. "Weird lights in the sky. My dad said the Air Force scrambled jets. Probably just a weather balloon." Maya's blood turned to ice. Slowly, she pushed through the crowd until she could see out the large glass doors that faced the parking lot. There, hovering about 50 feet above the football field, was something that definitely wasn't a weather balloon. The ship was roughly triangular, about the size of a school bus, with a dark metallic surface that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. No Earth technology could make something stay that perfectly motionless in midair without visible propulsion. Maya's hand instinctively moved to her pocket, where the alien communication device rested. She didn't need to check the screen to know it would be lighting up with urgent messages. "Oh my God," Jessica said beside her, pressing her face against the glass. "Do you think it's really aliens?" someone whispered. The word rippled through the crowd like electricity. Some students pulled out phones to record video. Others backed away from the windows nervously. A few laughed and insisted it had to be some kind of hoax. Maya stood frozen, watching the ship. She recognized the design. Catharan scout vessel, probably a fast courier ship meant for quick diplomatic missions. They had come looking for her. "This is so cool!" Alex appeared at her elbow, eyes shining with excitement. "Maya, can you believe this? First contact with an alien species right here at our school." Maya managed to find her voice. "Maybe we should go inside, away from the windows." "Are you kidding? This is the most important moment in human history. I'm not missing this because you're scared of—" He stopped talking because Maya was no longer beside him. She had slipped away from the crowd and was walking quickly down the hall, her heart pounding. This couldn't be happening. Not here. Not now. She had made it clear that her old life was over. She was done being the Void Walker, done being responsible for the fate of entire worlds. She was just Maya Chen, high school senior who wanted to go to college and study marine biology and live a perfectly ordinary human life. The lights in the school hallway flickered once, then died. Emergency lighting kicked in a moment later, casting everything in an eerie red glow. Maya broke into a run. Behind her, she could hear panicked voices as the reality of the situation began to sink in for her classmates. This wasn't a movie or a game. There was an actual alien spacecraft outside their school. Maya reached her locker and quickly spun the combination. Her hands shook slightly as she grabbed the communication device from her backpack. The screen was indeed flashing with dozens of urgent messages. "Void Walker, respond immediately. Emergency council session. Your presence required. The hegemony has begun their final offensive. We need you." Maya closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Through the walls of the school, she could feel the subtle vibrations of the Catharan ship's engines. They weren't going to leave without her. A new message appeared on the screen. 5 minutes. If you do not respond, we will be forced to make formal contact with your planetary government. Maya's eyes snapped open. That would be a disaster. Humanity wasn't ready for first contact, especially not the kind that came with explanations about intergalactic wars and the human girl who had somehow become a key figure in them. Her fingers hovered over the device's keypad. 3 years ago, she had been Dr. Sarah Martinez's research assistant, a brilliant teenager who had volunteered for humanity's first deep space exploration mission. She had expected to spend 6 months cataloging asteroid compositions in the outer solar system. Instead, their ship had been pulled into a wormhole and deposited in the middle of a war zone. Maya shook her head, trying to dispel the memories. That was the past. This was her life now. Another message appeared. 4 minutes. Maya looked down the hallway toward the main entrance. Through the glass doors, she could see students and teachers gathering in confused clusters, all staring up at the impossible ship floating above their football field. Her classmates, her normal human classmates who worried about homework and dating and what college they would attend. They had no idea that one of their own had walked between stars and shaped the fate of civilizations. 3 minutes. Maya made her decision. She powered off the device and shoved it back into her locker, slamming the metal door shut. She was done being a legend. Let them find another savior. Maya made it exactly 12 steps down the hallway before the ship's loudspeaker system activated. The voice that echoed through the morning air was clearly not human. It spoke in perfect, unaccented English, but there was something about the rhythm and intonation that marked it as distinctly alien. "Citizens of Earth," the voice announced, "we come in peace. We seek an audience with one of your people. We know her only by the name she earned among the stars, Void Walker." Maya stopped walking. Around her, the red emergency lighting flickered as if responding to the alien transmission. "The human we seek is approximately 18 of your years old. Dark hair, small in stature by human standards. She attended your academic institution called the Kennedy Deep Space Research Academy before her recruitment for the Void missions." Maya closed her eyes. They were giving away everything. Her cover, her carefully constructed normal life, all of it disappearing with every word. If this individual is present, please know that 7 worlds call her hero. The Kitharan Republic, the Nexus Coalition, the free worlds of Vega, all owe their continued existence to her actions. We require her expertise for a matter of galactic security. The transmission ended, leaving behind an eerie silence. Maya stood alone in the hallway, listening to the muffled sounds of chaos coming from the main entrance. Students were shouting questions, teachers were trying to establish order, and she could hear the distant wail of sirens as emergency vehicles approached the school. Her phone buzzed. Text message from her mom. "Maya, are you safe? The news is saying there's an alien ship at your school. Please call me." Before Maya could respond, footsteps echoed in the hallway behind her. She turned to see Principal Johnson approaching, his usually calm demeanor replaced by barely controlled panic. "Miss Chen," he said, slightly out of breath, "I need you to come with me immediately." "Is everything okay?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. "The visitors. They've requested to speak with someone matching your description. The police are here, along with some federal agents. They want to ask you some questions." Maya's heart sank. "What kind of questions?" Principal Johnson looked uncomfortable. "About your previous education. Your enrollment records show that you transferred here from the Kennedy Deep Space Research Academy. That's a highly classified government program, Maya. Most people aren't even supposed to know it exists." They walked together toward the main office, passing confused students who had been herded into classrooms for safety. Maya caught glimpses through doorway windows, kids pressing their faces against the glass, teachers standing guard by doors, everyone whispering about the impossible ship that had appeared over their ordinary high school. The main office had been transformed into a makeshift command center. Men and women in dark suits stood around laptops and communication equipment, speaking in urgent, low voices. Maya recognized the setup immediately. She had seen similar operations during her time with the Deep Space Program. "Miss Chen?" A woman in a sharp black suit approached them. She was tall, probably in her 40s, with graying hair and the kind of eyes that missed nothing. "I'm Agent Harrison, FBI. We need to talk." Maya nodded, trying to look appropriately confused and frightened. "I don't understand what's happening. Why would aliens be looking for me?" Agent Harrison gestured toward a small conference room adjacent to the main office. "That's exactly what we need to figure out." As they walked, Maya heard fragments of radio chatter from the agent's communication devices. "No hostile intent detected. Ship maintaining position, no signs of weapons. Request for diplomatic immunity through standard channels." Inside the conference room, Agent Harrison closed the door and activated what Maya recognized as a signal jammer, a small device designed to prevent electronic eavesdropping. The irony wasn't lost on her. Similar technology had been standard equipment during her missions in deep space. "Maya," Agent Harrison began, consulting a tablet. "According to our records, you were part of an experimental education program run by Dr. Sarah Martinez. Advanced students ages 14 to 17, selected for accelerated space science curriculum. The program was discontinued 3 years ago after a training mission suffered a setback." Maya kept her expression carefully neutral. I remember Dr. Martinez. She was a good teacher. The official report states that the training vessel Endeavour experienced a navigation malfunction during a routine asteroid survey mission. The ship was lost with all hands, no survivors. That's what I was told, Maya said quietly. Agent Harrison leaned forward. Maya, there's something else in your file. Something that doesn't make sense. You were listed among the casualties of that mission. According to government records, Maya Chen died in space 3 years ago. Maya met the agent's gaze steadily. Obviously, that's a mistake. Is it? Agent Harrison turned the tablet around so Maya could see the screen. It showed an official death certificate, complete with her photograph and personal details. This document was filed by Dr. Martinez herself, along with similar certificates for all 12 students who were aboard the Endeavour. The room fell silent except for the humming of the signal jammer. Outside, Maya could hear helicopters circling overhead, probably news crews and additional military personnel responding to the alien contact. The ship's records indicate that you returned to Earth exactly 8 months ago, Agent Harrison continued. You re-enrolled in public school under your original identity. Your parents welcomed you home as if you had never been gone. How do you explain that? Maya realized she was trapped. The careful fiction she had built around her return was falling apart. I think there might be some confusion about Miss Chen. Agent Harrison's voice was sharp. There is an alien spacecraft hovering over this high school, specifically requesting an audience with someone who matches your exact description. Someone they call Void Walker. Someone who apparently saved multiple alien civilizations. I think we're past the point of confusion. Before Maya could respond, there was a soft knock on the conference room door. Agent Harrison frowned and opened it to reveal Alex Rodriguez, looking nervous but determined. I'm sorry to interrupt, Alex said, but Maya, there's something you need to see. Agent Harrison started to object, but Alex pressed on. The aliens, they're broadcasting something on all frequencies. It's about Maya. Agent Harrison looked from Alex to Maya, then back to Alex. What kind of broadcast? Just come see, Alex said urgently. They followed Alex back to the main office, where someone had connected one of the laptops to a large television screen. The display showed what appeared to be some kind of documentary footage, crystal-clear video of space battles, alien worlds, and starships engaged in massive conflicts. But it was the figure at the center of the action that made Maya's breath catch. A young human woman wearing a modified spacesuit that somehow allowed her to survive in the vacuum of space. She moved with impossible grace between massive warships, her hands somehow manipulating energy fields that could disable vessels thousands of times her size. Her face was clearly visible through the helmet visor. It was Maya. Ladies and gentlemen, the alien narrator's voice was the same one that had made the initial announcement. We share this record so that you might understand the magnitude of what your species achieved through this one individual. Behold the Void Walker, as she ended the siege of Kythera Prime. On the screen, the Maya from 3 years ago gestured with both hands. A barrier of pure energy materialized between 2 fleets of warships, stopping their mutual destruction. Then she did something that made even the experienced federal agents in the room gasp in disbelief. She walked through space, not flew, not traveled in a ship, but literally walked across the vacuum, moving from one fleet to the other, somehow facilitating negotiations between species that had been at war for centuries. Through methods we still do not fully comprehend, the narrator continued, the Void Walker demonstrated that space itself could be traversed as easily as walking across a room. More importantly, she proved that peaceful resolution was possible even in the midst of total war. The footage continued, showing Maya at the center of increasingly impossible scenarios, leading a diplomatic mission through a collapsing wormhole, negotiating a peace treaty between artificial intelligences and organic beings, standing alone on a dead world, somehow restoring its atmosphere through manipulation of quantum forces. Agent Harrison turned slowly to stare at Maya. "That's you." Maya said nothing. What could she say? The evidence was undeniable. "How?" Agent Harrison whispered. Alex, meanwhile, was staring at the screen in amazement. "Maya, you're actually a superhero. This whole time you've been sitting next to me in physics class, and you're actually some kind of cosmic diplomatic genius?" The footage ended with a final scene that Maya remembered all too well. Her standing before a massive assembly of representatives from dozens of alien species, all of them bowing in respect as she formally established what became known as the Void Accords, the first truly universal peace treaty in galactic history. The Voidwalker declined all offers of permanent positions among the stars, the narrator concluded. She requested only to return to her home world, to live among her own people. "We respected this wish, though we have maintained discreet observation to ensure her safety." The broadcast ended, leaving the office in stunned silence. Agent Harrison was the first to speak. "Maya, how is any of this possible?" Maya looked around the room at the faces staring back at her. Federal agents, school administrators, her classmate Alex, all of them waiting for an explanation that she had hoped she would never have to give. "The wormhole," she said finally. "When our ship got pulled through, it didn't just transport us across space. It changed us. Changed me." "Changed you how?" Maya held up her right hand. To everyone watching, it looked perfectly normal. But as they stared, her hand began to fade slightly, becoming translucent. Then it disappeared entirely for several seconds before materializing again. "Space and time aren't really separate things," Maya explained. "They're different aspects of the same phenomenon. The wormhole taught me how to adjust my relationship with both." Alex's mouth fell open. "You can teleport." "Not exactly teleport. It's more like stepping between dimensions. The vacuum of space isn't actually empty. It's full of quantum possibilities. I learned how to navigate those possibilities." Agent Harrison sat down heavily in the nearest chair. This changes everything. About physics, about space exploration, about humanity's place in the galaxy." "Which is exactly why I wanted to keep it secret," Maya said firmly. "I'm 18 years old. I want to go to college and study marine biology. I want to have a normal life." "But those alien civilizations," Alex said, "they need your help." "You heard what they said about galactic security." Maya's expression darkened. "There's always another crisis. Another war that needs preventing, another species that needs saving. If I go back, I'll spend my entire life moving from one emergency to the next. I'll never get to just be human." Agent Harrison's radio crackled with incoming communication. "Agent Harrison, the alien vessel is requesting permission to land. They say they need to speak with the Voidwalker immediately. They're claiming the existence of multiple worlds depends on this conversation." Agent Harrison looked at Maya. "It's your choice. But Maya, if what they're saying is true..." Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of countless lives pressing down on her shoulders. It was the same feeling that had driven her to exile herself to Earth in the first place. The knowledge that entire civilizations looked to her for solutions she wasn't sure she could provide. When she opened her eyes, everyone in the room could see the change. The uncertain teenager was gone, replaced by something older and more determined. For just a moment, Maya Chen disappeared, and the Void Walker stood in her place. "Tell them they have 10 minutes, she said, "and clear the area of civilians. Whatever they want to discuss, it's probably not safe for bystanders." Agent Harrison nodded and began speaking rapidly into her radio. As federal agents moved to evacuate the remaining students and staff, Alex grabbed Maya's arm. "Maya, wait. Are you really going to go back? Back to space?" Maya looked at him. really looked at him, and Alex realized he was seeing her clearly for the first time. There was something ancient in her eyes, a depth of experience that seemed impossible for someone their age. "Alex," she said gently, "I was never really here to begin with." Outside, the alien ship began its descent toward the now empty football field, and Maya Chen prepared to become the Void Walker once again. The Catharan ship settled onto the football field with no sound except the whisper of displaced air. Up close, Maya could see the intricate geometric patterns etched into its hull. Not mere decoration, but functional elements that help the ship navigate the quantum layers of space-time. She stood at the edge of the field, flanked by Agent Harrison and a small team of federal agents who looked like they were trying very hard to appear calm while dealing with humanity's first confirmed alien contact. Behind them, Alex had somehow convinced the authorities to let him stay, probably by pointing out that he was the only civilian who actually knew Maya's real identity. A section of the ship's hull shimmered and became transparent, revealing an airlock. 3 figures emerged. Maya's breath caught as she recognized them. Commander HFY of the Catharan Republic, tall and elegant, with the characteristic blue-tinted skin and 4 arms that marked his species. Dr. Renthala, the Nexus Coalition's chief xenobiologist, whose crystalline body structure caught and refracted light in impossible ways. And finally, Warlord Crix, the massive armor-plated leader of the Vegan Free Worlds, who had once sworn a blood oath to destroy every human in the galaxy before Maya convinced him that cooperation was more profitable than conquest. "Void Walker," Commander HFY called out, his voice carrying easily across the open space. "We greet you with joy, though we come bearing grave news." Maya walked forward to meet them, conscious of the cameras that were undoubtedly recording every moment of this historic first contact. Behind her, Agent Harrison and her team followed at a respectful distance. "HFY, Renthala, Crix." Maya nodded to each of them in turn. "I told you I was retired." "The galaxy cares little for our personal desires," Dr. Renthala replied, her voice ringing like crystal chimes. "The hegemony has found a way to weaponize the void itself." Maya felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. "Explain." Warlord Crix stepped forward, his massive frame casting a long shadow. 3 months ago, the hegemony attacked the Centauri Collective. Instead of conventional weapons, they deployed something new. They opened tears in space-time itself, creating wounds that consume entire star systems. "Void bombs," Commander HFY added. "They call them void bombs. Each one creates an expanding zone of absolute nothingness that destroys everything it touches. Planets, stars, even the quantum substrate that holds reality together." Maya closed her eyes, processing the implications. "How many systems have they taken?" 17 so far, Dr. Renthala said quietly. "But that's not the worst part. They've discovered the location of the Nexus." The Nexus? Maya felt her heart stop. The Nexus was the original wormhole that connected all the major galactic civilizations, the same type of phenomenon that had given her abilities in the first place. If the hegemony destroyed it, they would cut off faster-than-light travel for entire sectors of the galaxy, effectively isolating thousands of worlds. "How long do we have?" Maya asked. 6 days, Warlord Crix rumbled. "Maybe 7 if we're lucky." Agent Harrison stepped forward. "I'm sorry, but who exactly is the hegemony? Are they another alien species?" The 3 aliens exchanged glances before Commander HFY answered. "The hegemony is what we call the machine civilization that arose in the Andromeda Galaxy. They seek to convert all organic matter into computational substrate for their collective consciousness. They're trying to turn the entire universe into a giant computer," Maya translated for the humans, "with themselves as the only users." "But surely your alliance can stop them," Agent Harrison said. "The broadcast mentioned that you united 7 species. That's got to count for something. Dr. Renthala's crystalline form dimmed slightly. The Void Accords united 7 species, yes, but the hegemony has the resources of an entire galaxy. We estimate their military strength at roughly 1,000 times greater than our combined forces. Then how did we stop them before? Agent Harrison asked. We didn't stop them, Maya said quietly. We convinced them to focus on other galaxies first. We bought time, nothing more. She turned back to the 3 aliens. You said they found a way to weaponize the Void. How is that possible? The quantum substrate doesn't respond to conventional manipulation. They captured one of us, Commander HFY said. A Kitharan quantum engineer named Veltar. He had been studying your techniques, trying to understand how you navigate the void layers, the hegemony. They extracted his knowledge. Maya's hands clenched into fists. She remembered Veltar, a brilliant scientist who had helped her develop some of her more advanced techniques. The thought of him being tortured by machines for information made her stomach turn. They can't have replicated everything, she said. The void responds to consciousness, not computation. They might be able to create crude weapons. But true void walking requires... She trailed off as she saw the expressions on the aliens' faces. What aren't you telling me? She demanded. Warlord Crix reached into his armor and pulled out a small device. He activated it, and a holographic image appeared in the air between them. The image showed a figure in advanced mechanical armor walking through space, just as Maya had done in the broadcast footage. But there was something wrong with the way it moved. Too precise, too calculating, lacking the intuitive grace that marked true void walking. They built machines that can mimic your abilities, Dr. Renthala explained. Not perfectly, but well enough. They've created artificial void walkers. Maya stared at the hologram in horror. That's impossible. The quantum substrate responds to organic consciousness. Machines can't. They can if they're running organic brain patterns, Commander HFY said grimly. They've been harvesting neural maps from captured void sensitives. Each machine contains the uploaded consciousness of someone who had the potential to develop your abilities. The implications hit Maya like a physical blow. The hegemony wasn't just building weapons. They were turning potential void walkers into enslaved digital ghosts, forced to power their war machines. How many? She whispered. Unknown. But satellite intelligence suggests they've built at least 50 of these artificial walkers, possibly more. Agent Harrison, who had been listening with growing alarm, stepped forward. I don't understand. If these machines can do what Maya does, why do you need her specifically? Maya answered before the aliens could speak. Because I'm not just a void walker. I'm the first void walker, the one who figured out how to do it safely without losing my humanity in the process. She gestured to the air around them, and those watching could suddenly see faint threads of light connecting everything. The ground, the sky, the people standing nearby, even the alien ship. It was as if reality itself had become visible, revealing the underlying quantum connections that held the universe together. The void isn't empty, Maya explained, her voice taking on the teaching tone she had once used when training other potential walkers. It's full of possibilities, every path that could be taken, every choice that could be made. Most people who try to navigate it get lost in the infinite options and never find their way back to baseline reality. The threads of light grew brighter, and suddenly Alex gasped as he realized he could see them too. Maya, what are you doing? I'm showing you what the hegemony machines can't understand, Maya said. The void responds to intuition, to emotion, to the uniquely organic ability to make irrational choices that somehow lead to rational outcomes. Machines can copy the techniques, but they can't replicate the insight. She turned back to the 3 aliens. You want me to teach your people how to fight voidwalkers? More than that, Commander HFY said. We want you to lead the defense of the Nexus. Without your guidance, our forces won't stand a chance against 50 artificial walkers. Maya closed her eyes, feeling the weight of countless lives pressing down on her again. She thought about Alex and her classmates, about her parents who thought she was just going through a teenage phase, about the normal life she had built for herself on Earth. Then she thought about Veltar and the other void sensitives whose consciousness had been enslaved to power the hegemony's war machines. She thought about 17 destroyed star systems, and about the billions of organic beings who would die if the hegemony succeeded in their universal conversion project. "If I agree to this," she said finally, "I want something in exchange." "Name it," Warlord Crick said immediately. "Earth becomes part of the Alliance, full membership with all the protections and benefits that implies. And I want human volunteers included in the Voidwalker training program." Agent Harrison started to object, but Maya held up a hand. "Agent Harrison, your government has been trying to figure out faster-than-light travel for decades. Here's your chance to learn from species who have been using it for millennia. But more importantly, humanity needs to be able to defend itself. The hegemony won't ignore Earth forever." She looked directly at Alex. "Besides, we've already produced one successful Voidwalker. The techniques can be taught to others." "Maya," Alex said, his voice barely above a whisper, "are you saying that other humans could learn to do what you do?" "Not exactly what I do," Maya replied, "but close enough. The quantum substrate seems to respond particularly well to human consciousness. Something about the way our brains process information makes us natural void navigators." Dr. Renthala's crystalline form brightened with excitement. "That would explain why no other species has produced a natural voidwalker despite centuries of trying. Human neural architecture may be uniquely suited for quantum navigation." Commander Zeph High looked thoughtful. "If what you're suggesting is true, then Earth could potentially train an entire generation of voidwalkers. The strategic implications are exactly why the hegemony will target Earth eventually," Maya finished. "Better to prepare for that now." Agent Harrison had been listening with growing amazement. "You're talking about fundamentally changing humanity's place in the galaxy." "I'm talking about making sure humanity has a place in the galaxy," Maya corrected. "The universe is a dangerous place and we can't stay isolated forever." She turned back to the three aliens. "Do we have a deal?" "The Galactic Council will need to vote," Commander Zeph High said, "but I believe I can guarantee approval. Your proposal offers advantages to everyone involved." "Good." Maya looked up at the sky where storm clouds were beginning to gather. "Then let's get started. 6 days isn't much time to train a defense force." "You're really going to do this?" Alex asked. "Give up your normal life to become the Void Walker again?" Maya smiled sadly. "Alex, I was never really Maya Chen, normal high school student. That was just a role I was playing while I tried to figure out who I actually am." She gestured again, and the threads of light that connected everything became visible once more. This time, Alex could see that the threads extending from Maya were different, brighter, more complex, weaving through dimensions that his mind could barely perceive. "This is who I am," Maya said simply. "I'm the person who walks between worlds, who finds connections where none seem to exist. I'm the Void Walker." The alien ship's airlock opened again, and Maya began walking toward it. Agent Harrison called after her. "Maya, what should I tell your parents, your teachers? How do I explain that one of our students was actually humanity's first ambassador to an alien alliance?" Maya paused at the threshold of the ship and looked back at the small group of humans watching her leave. For a moment, the weight of all her experiences seemed to settle on her shoulders, the isolation, the impossible responsibilities, the knowledge that she could never truly belong to any one world. Then she straightened, and when she spoke, her voice carried the authority of someone who had negotiated peace treaties between entire civilizations. "Tell them the truth," she said. "Tell them that Maya Chen was a girl who got lost in space and found her way home by learning to walk through the void itself. Tell them that she gave up a normal life because she discovered that some things are more important than being normal." She stepped into the alien ship, then turned back one final time. "And Alex," she called out, "when the Human Void Walker training program starts recruiting, I hope you'll consider volunteering. The galaxy needs people who ask good questions." The airlock closed, and moments later the ship rose silently into the storm clouds. Agent Harrison watched it disappear, then turned to Alex, who was staring up at the sky with a mixture of awe and determination. "Are you actually considering it?" she asked. "Alien space training?" Alex grinned. "Are you kidding? I just found out that my weird classmate is actually the most important human in galactic history. Of course I'm considering it." He looked back at the empty football field where humanity had just made first contact with an alien alliance, where a teenage girl had revealed herself to be a legendary figure whose actions had shaped the fate of entire civilizations. "Besides," Alex added, "someone's going to have to keep an eye on her. Make sure she doesn't get too used to being a legend again." Agent Harrison smiled despite herself. "Something tells me that Maya Chen, or the Void Walker, or whatever she calls herself, is going to change everything for humanity." Above them, the storm clouds parted briefly, revealing a sky full of stars that no longer seemed quite so distant or impossible to reach. Somewhere among those stars, a girl from Nebraska was preparing to save the galaxy one more time. And somewhere else among those same stars, an ancient machine intelligence was discovering that humans, unpredictable, irrational, impossibly stubborn humans, were about to become a factor they had never accounted for in their universal conversion calculations. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and for the first time in their existence, the hegemony was going to face an opponent that could walk through the void itself to reach them. They had awakened humanity's greatest legend. And they were about to learn why the galaxy called her the Void Walker.